It was an execution carried out almost by stealth. To talk about the hanging of Ajmal Kasab, we are joined by the Union External Affairs Minister, Mr. Salman Khurshid. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us on Headlines today. Why so much secrecy? You know, the law usually requires that this be an open trial, that information be given out. Why was Ajmal Kasab hung with such secrecy?
The trial certainly has to be open, except when there are very serious security considerations. But the law doesn't require public hanging. In fact, hanging, no matter how heinous the crime, how much anger there may have been in the public against the person who is to be punished in that extreme manner, must be done with dignity, and it must be done in a sober way. And I think that's what was done. I don't think you want to publicize it and add a flavor that is uncalled for at such times. We've done what was the right thing to do. We've done it in the right manner, and I hope that this sends a message to the world that India upholds rule of law in the highest way, and that this would also send a message to those who trifle with India's security, that the end will be such an end to anyone who threatens India's security, safety, and the welfare of its people.
Can you give our viewers a sense of the planning that went into this execution? I'm told that you were amongst the handful of people who were in the know. How did the government go? Because usually things leak in this government, things come out in the public. This is one case where everything was kept top secret and actually worked to the T.
Well, I certainly had knowledge, because we had to inform at an appropriate time. We had to inform the government of Pakistan and the relatives that such an address was available with us, which we did, and we did very quietly. It was important that this be done quietly, because we didn't want any distractions, and we didn't want anybody causing any impediments. The entire procedure, the process, in as fair a manner as possible, as for anybody, is what was given to Kasab, and it's only after the final decision of the President that the execution was proceeded with. The details of this, of course, will be known to the Home Ministry and the administration of Maharashtra, but I do acknowledge that matters were done very sensibly. The fact that we were able to keep that secret, I think, is extremely important, and it tells us that if need be, secrets can be kept. And I believe that somewhere, if at all anybody knew in the media, they must have accepted this as their patriotic duty at this time, to let things take place in their own pace and in their own manner.
So you're telling us that Pakistan was informed. So who in the Pakistan government was informed? Was Kasab's family informed? Did you get a response from them?
Well, we sent a missive to the address that was available with us for his family, and we certainly sent information to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Pakistan, and because they didn't accept it, we then had to fax it to them, which we did. So we did what was our duty. I expect that they will do their duty.
Which is what? Because now this throws open the question of what happens with 2611. Do you consider this closure at some level, or one part in that closure, because people want to see the real perpetrators, the real masterminds who are still roaming free in Pakistan to be executed? Action should be taken against them too, sir.
Well, I expect that Pakistan will want to live up to our standards. We have shown how rule of law functions in our country, and I'm sure that they will, in front of the world, want to show that they are equally objective and equally dispassionate in proceeding with such issues. But it's really for them now to decide. As far as we are concerned, we've done our bit. I think we fulfilled our obligations, and we have provided them with the information they need to proceed to fulfill their obligations. Now time will tell to what extent they live up to those standards.
You know, there were some witness testimonies recorded in the 2611 court very recently, where it was admitted that 2611 was plotted by Lashkar operatives. Are you looking at that as a step in the right direction, or do you think it's just one procedural part of what's going on in Pakistan in court?
Well, I think it's too early to arrive at any conclusions. We've certainly noted that there has been wider publicity for what the witnesses have said in court recently. This seems to be somewhat of a departure from the past, but these are only witnesses' statements. They still have to be believed. presumably they have to be cross-examined. So I think we shouldn't rush into any conclusions, but yes, this looks like a positive signal. Let's wait and watch.
There's a big debate raging now about Ajmal Kasab being hung, whereas people like Afzal Guru, who was responsible for the attack on our parliament in 2001, is still not being hung despite the fact that the courts have asked you to hang him. What are we waiting for, sir?
We didn't engage in the debate as far as Kasab was concerned, and we are not about to engage in a debate on Afzal Guru or anybody else. I think we are not accountable to individuals. They are free to express their views to the democracy, but we are not accountable to individuals in this matter. We are accountable only to institutions of rule of law, and I think that this would be a very clear and categorical assertion of Government of India's commitment to rule of law, and I think people should be careful before they question our intentions in matter of proceeding with rule of law.
You know, there are the LTTE convicts, there's Bhulla, there's also Afzal Guru. There's a queue, execution queue. Now you've jumped Afzal Guru. What about the others who are in that queue? You need to answer that question about why is it that people who are on that queue and on that list earlier have still not been hung? Is the government confused or in a quandary about what to do because it's politically sensitive, sir?
Well, the government is not confused, but I think that to any rule and any queue, there can be exceptions, and I'm sure that those exceptions are considered with all factors, all matters factored in. These are details of decision making within government in a very sensitive part of our administration, and I think it will not be fair for us to be discussing them without all facts being available to both of us. I think it's enough to say that we will do what it takes anyone to do in order to uphold rule of law. I think we've shown an example of that, and we will continue to show examples of that as we move forward. There is no need for anybody to add any doubt or speculation to this matter.
You know, there's also a big debate about the Prime Minister's visit to Pakistan, whether it should happen. The Prime Minister, of course, himself is very keen. You've just taken over in the ministry. There's a limited slot available early next year before Pakistan goes into poll mode and later India goes into poll mode. Do you see that visit to Pakistan happening in the light of them not moving fast enough from 26 level?
Well, it's very difficult for me to say because this is a call Prime Minister will take. I know that leadership in Pakistan is very keen that our Prime Minister visit there, and of course a visit of our Prime Minister would indeed be historic, but it's a call that the Prime Minister will take at a suitable and appropriate time. I think there are many factors that have to be considered before a decision like this can be taken. I haven't yet discussed this with the Prime Minister. I think we will be ready with information, analysis and backgrounders if and when he decides that he needs to take a call.
What do you think? Because there's one thought process which says that Hafiz Saeed roams free, Pakistan isn't moving fast enough. If you were asked for your opinion, Minister, what would you be telling the Prime Minister?
Well, I think my oath tells me not to share what I would tell the Prime Minister or what I have told him, except to the extent that it's necessary in public interest and authorized by him. But the matters that you mentioned and the dimension that you mentioned would inevitably be taken into account when a decision is taken. But having said that, we also are very clear that we don't want to be held hostage by the past. We want to look forward, and we welcome Pakistan's suggestion that we should look forward, which is what we did in every time we've done dialogue with them. But nevertheless, there are some obligations we have to our own people, particularly those who suffered tragic loss, and we wouldn't want to dilute our obligation to them.
You're saying you want to look forward. Do you think that Pakistan is doing enough when it comes to, say, terror camps in Pakistan, occupied Kashmir, its approach to terrorism against India? Do you as minister think Pakistan is doing enough?
Well, certainly I think that this is a common view that the Home Minister has with me, that there is still a lot to be done. I think the wish list that was provided by the previous Home Minister, Mr. Chidambaram, has not been adequately addressed. We see signals sometimes that there may be movement forward, but once the movement forward takes place, we would be more comfortable in looking at a roadmap for the future. But sadly, we cannot say as yet that there has been sufficient movement for us to be able to look ahead.
Your political opponents are questioning the timing of Kasab's execution. One day before Parliament begins, they say that this is being done by a beleaguered government to give them some sort of a surge coming into the winter session, to give yourself the momentum riding into Parliament.
I'm not sure that this is something that one should even attempt to answer. Um, it's sad. It's sad that somebody should be saying this. Did they not want this execution to take place? Did they want to force the execution at a time that suited them? I think these are things that are irrelevant when it comes to the obligation that one has to do things according to rule of law. I don't think we should trifle with our standing in terms of a country that's committed to rule of law.
Because Narendra Modi has put out a tweet, sir, where he says, this is fine, but what about Afzal Guru? Why is the government not acting against him? So this is also becoming politicized.
I wouldn't want to help him politicize it any further. Not answerable to him at all. A lot of people ask questions about him. We're not answering those either. Let the law take its own course.
Mr. Khurshid, thank you very much for speaking to Headlines today. Thank you.